Dr. Parikh, am I saying that right?
You are.
Thank you. Do you know anybody who's against biomedical research?
I do not know anybody that's against biomedical research, but I know some.
That's like being against children, isn't it?
It is.
It's like being against world peace, isn't it?
It is.
It's like being against golden retrievers, isn't it?
There's some people that argue there.
Okay. Well, let's get that out of the way. I want to ask you about NIH. I love NIH. I think they do extraordinary work.
Yes, sir.
But isn't it a fact if NIH assigns way too much money for overhead, that money comes out of the basic research? Isn't that the case?
Welcome to Liberty Trigger. Folks, buckle up, because what I'm about to show you will make your blood boil. If you care about your tax dollars, if you care about honest science, and if you're tired of watching big universities and bureaucrats act like they're above accountability, that's Senator John Kennedy, one of the few guys in Washington with enough backbone to ask the questions everyone else is too scared to. He's grilling Dr. Parikh about the NIH, the National Institutes of Health, and their overhead costs. Now, let me translate overhead into plain English. That's the money that's supposed to be for research, but gets skimmed off for administrative costs, salaries, perks, and, as we've seen in the past, even luxury items.
Senator, both those things are providing funds for research. And I agree with you that we need to make the administrative burden and the costs associated with it as low as possible, because we do want as much to go to
Well, why
research.
can't NIH live with 15% overhead?
Yeah. Senator, we have had a partnership that's been going on for 75 years in this country.
Yes,
that's
sir,
worked
but why
remarkably well.
can't NIH live with 15% overhead?
At this point, what that would do is actually turn institutions like the ones we've heard about here, it would actually make it to where they are laying off researchers and the support folks who are
Well, the
supporting
Gates
that work.
Foundation, when they make grants, they limit overhead to 10%, don't they?
They do, sir, but that is apples to oranges because they count different things
And
in
the
the
Roberts
overhead.
Woods Johnson Foundation limits overhead to 12%, don't they?
They do. Again, apples to oranges because they count different things.
Isn't it a fact that the universities that receive the most money from NIH also have the biggest endowments?
I haven't checked that, but it probably is true, Senator. And I agree with you. There are challenges that we need to work on.
Well, let's take Harvard. 69 cents out of every dollar from NIH given to Harvard goes to overhead.
No, sir, it's 69 cents out of every $1.69. It's on top of, it's not within.
Okay. Which is 1.6. Let me ask you about one of the worst abuses I've ever seen. It was at Stanford.
Yes, sir.
Stanford was spending 74% of grants from NIH on overhead. Remember that?
I do, although I was in high school at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't. and they audited Stanford.
Yes, sir.
You remember what they found?
They bought a sailboat.
They found that Stanford was spending some of that money to pay the salaries of the employees at a Stanford-owned shopping center, didn't they?
I don't remember that part. No,
I
sir,
do.
but yeah, okay.
They found that Stanford was spending some of that money that was supposed to go to research, ladies and gentlemen, to renovate the president's home,
Yes, sir.
didn't they?
I believe so, Senator. Again.
And to
when I was in high
renovate the vice provost's home, too, didn't they?
I believe you when you say that. Yes.
And they also charged, Stanford took NIH research money to help children and applied it to depreciation on a Stanford yacht, didn't they?
Yes, sir. Again, when I was in high school, sir.
Now, does NIH audit every year the way these grants are being spent?
They don't audit every year. There's a process for
So
determining.
they just trust the universities?
No, there's a negotiation that takes place between
Yes,
the
sir,
NIH
but if it's a
and the
5-year grant,
university. Yes, sir.
and they agree on indirect costs, they don't audit it every year. What if the universities lie to them?
That is absolutely a possibility.
What does fungible mean?
Fungible means that you can move money from one place to another.
And money's fungible, isn't it?
Money is fungible.
I'm ready to have a productive discussion. I've got to go to another committee. Maybe you'll have it today. I haven't heard it.
Yes, sir.
What I've heard is the implication is that anybody who is against asking hard questions about the overhead and spending is against biomedical research.
I wouldn't say it, sir. I think you are a champion.
And I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I don't either.
But every penny that we spend on overhead that's not being audited, and you know as much as I do, Doc, that some of it is being abused, is money that is taken away from research. And that's just a fact.
Senator,
And if you care about this child here, and I know you do, we all do, then any money spent illegitimately on overhead to pay the salary of a professor in the humanities department at a university is coming out of her research. And it's not wrong to ask questions.
it is not wrong to ask
No,
questions.
it's not.
Not at all. And Senator, I think it's actually important to ask those questions and optimize the system.
And I don't understand why these universities cannot live on 15% overhead when Gates Foundation limits them to 10% and the Johnson Foundation limits them to 12%. I don't understand it. All of a sudden, if they don't get 35% overhead, civilization is going to melt.
It is important.
My
to have
mama
that
didn't
conversation.
raise a fool, and if she did, it was one of my brothers.
Exactly. Why can't they? The Gates Foundation manages with 10%. The Robert Wood Johnson Foundation manages with 12%. But somehow, these universities act like civilization will collapse if they don't get 35% overhead. That's not funding science. Folks, that's funding a gravy train. And here's the kicker. Kennedy is 100% right. Every extra penny going to bloated overhead is a penny stolen from actual research. That's money that could be curing cancer, funding medical breakthroughs, or helping kids in hospitals. But instead, it's paying for office furniture, dean salaries, and, oh yeah, Stanford sailboat. You heard that right. Stanford used NIH research money to renovate the president's mansion, the vice provost's home, and yes, maintain a yacht. This is supposed to be about helping sick people, not about making sure some university executive's wine cellar is fully stocked. And here's the problem. The NIH doesn't even audit this stuff every year. Let that sink in. They hand out multi-year grants worth millions of your tax dollars, and then basically trust the universities not to lie or misuse it. No annual check-ins. No serious oversight. If that isn't the definition of a bureaucratic swamp, I don't know what is. Money is fungible. That means you can move it around however you want. So if you think these universities aren't shuffling things around to cover pet projects and luxury perks, you're dreaming. This is the same elite academic class that lectures you about morality, tells you to trust the science, and paints anyone asking questions as anti-research or anti-science. Kennedy hit the nail on the head. Asking hard questions about overhead isn't being against biomedical research. It's being for accountability for taxpayers and for actual science. And the fact that some of these folks act insulted when you ask about their spending tells you everything you need to know. My fellow patriots, this is why we need more oversight in Washington. We don't have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem. The NIH gets billions every year. Yet instead of making sure the money goes to the labs, the researchers, and the patients, we've created a system where some of it goes to the Ivy League elite with multi-billion-dollar endowments. You know, the same schools charging $80,000 a year for tuition. And Harvard? Senator Kennedy brought it up. They get hundreds of millions in NIH money, but 69 cents out of every federal dollar they get for research goes to overhead. That's not science, that's a scam. Meanwhile, Harvard's endowment is worth over $50 billion. They could fund their own research without touching a dime of taxpayer money. But why would they when Uncle Sam keeps cutting blank checks? This isn't just about left versus right. It's about right versus wrong. It's about making sure the hard-working people of this country, The farmers, the truckers, the small business owners aren't footing the bill for some Dean's Marble Kitchen or Stanford yacht. We deserve better. So here's the call to action. Support the senators who are willing to ask these tough questions. Demand transparency from the NIH. And tell your representatives that you're sick and tired of your tax dollars funding luxury for the elites while real medical research takes a backseat. Because if we don't hold these institutions accountable, they'll keep treating your money like their personal ATM. My mama didn't raise a fool either, and I know a racket when I see one. This is Liberty Trigger, signing off. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.